Have you ever heard of a person who just crossed a river and changed the world? Julius Caesar, who crossed the Rubicon, transformed Rome from a peaceful, well, not so peaceful, republic into an empire that all humanity must remember. But wait, was Caesar a political genius or just a power-hungry man? A great reformer or just the beginning of a series of tragedies full of blood and betrayal? Let's learn about the life of Julius Caesar, from a debt-ridden aristocrat to the most powerful man in Rome, and even the death he never thought he would face by those who closest friend. Don't go anywhere, because this story will make you both surprised and laugh, but also not lacking in lessons worth pondering. Welcome to Faces of History. Here we uncover fascinating stories from the past and dive into the lives of legendary figures who shaped the course of world history. If you're passionate about history and the incredible journeys of those who made it, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated with our latest videos. Let's embark on this inspiring journey through time together. The Road to Power, Julius Caesar, from debt to Roman head. Let's start with a fun fact. Julius Caesar was not born with a golden spoon in his mouth. His family belonged to the patrician aristocracy, but sadly only in name. Debt piled high, assets were like smoke. The Caesar family at that time was only famous because of the Caesar family name. But that did not hinder his ambition at all. Caesar knew very well that if you don't have money, you must have fame. And if you don't have a name yet, create it. The first step, climb high with your marriage. Like many politicians at that time, Caesar started by marrying a strategically suitable wife. He married Cornelia, the daughter of a powerful political figure. But this quickly got him into trouble. A political rival of his wife's family, the dictator Sulla, asked Caesar to divorce Cornelia. And this is when we see the shadow of a steadfast leader. Caesar flatly refused. Yes, refused Sulla, who has the right to kill him with just a wave of his hand. Result? Caesar was listed as black, having to flee Rome and live as an exile. But instead of crying, he joined the army, where he quickly proved himself to be a talented warrior. It was said that if Sulla had not driven him away, Rome might never have had a Caesar like it later did. Next, spend money to buy reputation. When he returned from the army, Caesar understood that he needed two things to climb to the top: popularity and political allies. And how to become famous fastest? Spend money to organize epic festivals and games. And of course, invite people to attend for free. Can you imagine? A person who is deeply in debt borrows more money to spend like a king. But it turns out this was a genius move. The people began to love Caesar, considering him a man of the people. As for the nobles, they hated it, but also began to be cautious. Tam Dao Che alliance. There are few friends, many opponents. Once he had enough popularity, Caesar knew he needed a team to deal with the conservative aristocrats. So he joined hands with the two most powerful men of the time, Pompey, the prestigious general, and Crassus, the richest man in Rome. Yes, so rich that he was rumored to own half the city. This trio formed the triumvirate alliance, sharing power and protecting each other. And Caesar? He was appointed governor of Gaul, where he began his greatest military campaign. While Pompey and Crassus struggled for power in Rome, Caesar was far away but increasingly strong, famous, and wealthy thanks to the war. Crossing the Rubicon, the moment that changed history. After many years in Gaul, Caesar returned to Rome, but not as a servant. He took his army, marched toward Rome, and crossed the Rubicon River, an act that was considered a declaration of war on the state. The legendary saying, "Elea iacta est," the dice have been rolled, was born from here. From a guy deeply in debt, Caesar now becomes the one who decides the fate of Rome. And the interesting thing? Everything has just begun. If you think that Caesar's success was entirely due to his talent, think again. Sometimes it's all about knowing how to borrow from the right people, make friends in the right places, and create those heartwarming moments. Caesar played politics like an artist, and who doesn't love a talented artist, right? But can he maintain the pinnacle of power? That's a different story, and full of blood. Great military campaigns. When Julius Caesar became Rome's star of action. Julius Caesar was not only an ambitious politician, but also an excellent military strategist. If you think he was only good at political manipulation, let me tell you about the military campaigns that turned him into a legend, and no less humorous in retrospect. 1. Conquering Gaul, where Caesar fights and gets rich. Gaul, today France and part of Western Europe, at that time was like a Pandora's box, full of barbarian tribes but a strategic goldmine. Caesar, as governor of the land, saw this as an opportunity to build his reputation and bank account. With a battle-hardened Roman army, Caesar waged a series of 8-year campaigns, defeating dozens of Gaul tribes. But don't think everything is as easy as cutting a cake. One of his greatest challenges was facing Vercingetorix, a talented Gallic warrior and local hero. Citadel of Alesia, when Caesar became a military architect. The siege of Alesia was the climax of the Gaul campaign. Vercingetorix defends himself in the citadel, while Caesar builds a citadel around his opponent's citadel. That's right, Caesar created a city within a city to prevent aid from coming to save Vercingetorix. Result? The Gauls lost miserably, and Caesar became a hero of Rome. 2. Crossing the Rubicon River, the most valuable roll of the dice in history. After making waves in Gaul, Caesar realized that fame is only valuable when you have real power, so he decided to send troops to Rome. But here's the problem. According to the law, no general can lead troops across the Rubicon River, because this would mean treason against the state. Caesar, he didn't care. With the legendary words, Alea iacta est, the dice are cast, he crossed the river with his loyal army, officially declaring war on his rival Pompey and the Senate. Mild irony. From that moment on, Rome was no longer the place to play dice, unless you were willing to bet on an empire. 3. Anti-Pompey campaign. A close friend has become an enemy. Pompey, once Caesar's ally in the triumvirate, now became his main rival. And if you thought this was going to be an evenly matched fight, well, no. Pompey, despite the support of the Senate, could not resist Caesar's military genius. Battle of Pharsalus, when Caesar taught Pompey a lesson. At Pharsalus, 48 BC, Pompey had a larger army than Caesar, but Caesar, with his excellent command talent, used flexible tactics to completely defeat Pompey. Pompey was forced to flee to Egypt, where he was betrayed and assassinated, a far from glorious end for Caesar's greatest rival. 4. Cleopatra and Egypt, being a general and being a lover. While in Egypt, Caesar met Cleopatra, the young and ambitious queen. Their relationship isn't just about politics, it's also full of Hollywood romance. Caesar helped Cleopatra defeat her brother in the struggle for the throne, and in return, he gained the support of Egypt. 5. Veni, Vidi, Vici, lightning victory in Zela. In a swift campaign in Asia Minor, Caesar defeated his enemies in just a few days. Then he sent a brief message back to Rome. Veni, Vidi, Vici, I came, I saw, I won. This quote not only became legendary, but also proved that Caesar was not only good at fighting, but also good at promoting himself. In short, Caesar's military campaigns not only made him a legend, but also completely changed the Roman landscape. From Gaul to Egypt, Caesar always knew how to win, with talent, tactics, and recklessness. If war is an art, then Julius Caesar is definitely Picasso. But Picasso may have left behind only paintings, but Caesar left behind an empire and some infamous feuds. Political vision and reform, Julius Caesar. Great reformer or destroyer of the Republic? When not busy with military campaigns, Julius Caesar focused on what he did equally well, political reform and building the future of Rome. But the big question is, was he truly a great reformer or just a power-hungry man seeking to turn Rome into his own private stage? Let's explore. 1. Caesar and his vision. For Rome, what is a republic? Sounds so strange. Caesar was born into a Rome where power was shared between the Senate and the aristocracy. But let's be honest, the system is outdated and rife with injustice. The poor were exploited, farmers lost their land, and veterans had nothing but rusty swords. Caesar realized that if he wanted to stay in power and, of course, be popular, he needed to do something to improve the situation. And so he launched a series of reforms that, to some, were revolutionary changes. With others, it was the beginning of the end of the Republic. 2. Economic reforms: winning the people's heart, hitting the pocket. Caesar quickly introduced economic policies to appease popular discontent. What do? Land division. Caesar confiscated the land of the rich, literally called Roman super-rich, to distribute to farmers and veterans. A very reasonable move if you want to be a hero of the people, but certainly not a friend of the nobility. Debt reduction. He also reduced people's debt, a decision that made the rich hate it. But who cares, right? They don't vote. Get rich by expanding trade. Caesar established new settlements and expanded trade throughout the Mediterranean, helping to strengthen the economy. If Caesar lived today, he would probably be the one to invent the loan interest rate reduction program. 3. Social reform. Clocks are not only for telling time, but also for correcting calendars. Did you know that the calendar we use today was created by Caesar? Before that, the Romans used a calendar that was completely chaotic, to the point that summer could fall in November. Yes, that sounds crazy. Caesar ordered a reform of the calendar, creating the Julian calendar, with 365 days a year and a leap year every 4 years. But that's not all. Caesar also increased the number of seats in the Senate, not to share power, but to dilute the influence of political opponents. If you can't win an election, then just add more seats and sit in the biggest one. 4. Global vision. Rome is the center of the world, and I am the center of Rome. Caesar didn't just want to reform Rome, he wanted to turn it into a true empire. He believed that Rome must be led by a strong man, and clearly he saw himself as that man. Citizenship for all. Caesar extended Roman citizenship to conquered lands, a strategic move intended to attract the loyalty of people in distant provinces. Cultural integration. He combined different cultures, turning Rome into a multicultural center. Caesar must have thought, if they can't fight me, let's give them a Roman residence. 5. Ultimate power. I am the one who breaks the rules. To maintain power, Caesar styled himself dictator perpetuo, eternal dictator. This is like saying to the Senate, thanks for holding your seat, now sit back and watch me work. Of course, this action angered the nobility. To them, Caesar was not a reformer, but a threat to the existence of the Republic. Caesar was a man with an undeniable vision beyond his time. He saw injustices and sought to correct them. But at the same time, he also disrupted the basic values of the Republic, causing people to ask, are his reforms worth it if the price is the end of political freedom? If you think Caesar was just a wrecker, remember sometimes sabotage is the only way to rebuild, or at least that's how he justified everything. Betrayal and death. When Julius Caesar discovered that best friends are a dangerous job. If Julius Caesar's life were a movie, his ending would definitely be a dramatic tragedy, with a bitter taste of betrayal. And the climax of this film takes place in the Roman Senate, where he is stabbed by the very people who once called him friend. But how did Caesar, the most powerful man in Rome, fall into such a dire situation? Let's decode it. 1. Cause of betrayal. 2. Great ambition. 2. Few friends. Julius Caesar was not only a talented leader, but also a person very good at making others hate him. After appointing himself dictator perpetuo, eternal dictator, he pushed the Roman nobility into a situation where the rice is not good, the soup is not sweet. Not only did they lose power, but they felt as if Caesar was making a mockery of the republican system they had defended. Power was concentrated in the hands of one man. Caesar no longer pretended that the Senate had power. He took all big and small decisions and ignored the opinions of the aristocracy. Unlimited ambition. He wanted to expand Rome further, and there were even rumors that Caesar would declare himself king. In the eyes of Republican supporters, this was the final straw. Who wants to keep a fake Republican system when you can be the real prince? Caesar thinks so, but it seems the Senate doesn't. 2. Betrayal plan. Assemble the Dagger Brotherhood. Those who plotted against Caesar were not strangers. Ironically, many of them were people Caesar had helped, including Brutus, whom Caesar considered a son. They planned to assassinate him for a noble reason: protecting the Republic. Secret plot. About 60 senators participated in the plan. They decided to strike on March 15th, 44 BC, the Ides of March, a day that history will never forget. The perfect location. They chose the Senate, where Caesar felt safest. Who would have thought that this place would become the theater for the tragedy of his life? Sometimes you don't need enemies. You just need a few good friends to carry knives. 3. Caesar's death. You too, Brutus. That morning, despite warnings and bad omens, including advice from a famous fortune teller, Caesar went to the Senate. Maybe he was confident in his power, or simply didn't believe anyone would dare to betray him. But things quickly changed. Attack. When Caesar entered the meeting room, the conspirators suddenly surrounded and stabbed him repeatedly. He was stabbed 23 times, a number enough to ensure that none of them were alone responsible. Last words. According to legend, Caesar's last words were, "Et tu, Brute?" You too, Brutus? This is not only a reproach, but also a symbol of the most painful betrayal. No one needs enemies when they have a friend like Brutus, the man who turns every meeting into a tragic play. 4. Consequences. Caesar dies, but legend lives. Caesar was dead, but what the assassins did not expect was that his death would shake Rome. The people were angry. Caesar was a hero in the eyes of the people. When they discovered his death, a wave of indignation swept through Rome. Fall of the Republic. The plotters hoped that Caesar's death would save the Republic, but instead it only paved the way for the rise of Octavian, later Augustus, Caesar's nephew and successor, who transformed Rome into an empire. Perhaps the lesson here is, if you want to save the Republic, don't kill the only person strong enough to control it. Julius Caesar's death was not only a personal tragedy, but also an event that changed Roman history forever. He was betrayed by those closest to him, but his legacy cannot be erased. His name became a symbol of supreme power, and his story became a classic lesson in ambition, loyalty, and betrayal. If Caesar were resurrected, he would probably write a book titled How to Spot Fake Friends in 23 Simple Steps. Julius Caesar, a great man, a genius strategist, a man who changed the course of history, and also a living proof of the saying, the greater the success, the more hatred. His life was a series of brilliant victories, but ended in a bitter tragedy, being betrayed by the people he trusted the most. However, the story of Caesar does not stop at betrayal and death. It is also a lesson about ambition, loyalty, and the power of vision. Even though he was impaled in the Senate, his legacy still lives on, not only in Roman history, but also in the culture, politics, and thought of all humanity. So what can we learn from Julius Caesar? Perhaps it's the power of will, determination, and always daring to dream big. But it's also a reminder that, sometimes to go further, you need to remember to look back and see who's walking next to you and what they hold in their hands. Leave your opinion in the comments section. Do you think Julius Caesar was a great reformer or a power-hungry man? And what is the biggest lesson you learned from this story? If you like this video, don't forget to click like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next fascinating historical stories. See you in the next video, where history is not only told, but also lived again.